Have you ever passed by something which, while not explained, gave him a feeling of emptiness and confusion inside of you? Maybe it's a special night for you, such as Christmas, which is supposed to be selected by the union, the laughs, and the moments of love, making the experience of exclusion silent and painful. Just imagine the anticipation grows over the course of the day, the excitement that you can find people who have, in theory, they all share the same history, the same traditions as well. But when the night comes, because something does not happen as we had hoped, instead of the hug, warm and spirited conversation, you're faced with the feeling of an absence for someone who simply is no longer a part of that scene. Have you ever gone through this? Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised, and to help you to understand the different forms of social exclusion that often go unnoticed, but they leave a deep mark. Let's think together on Christmas Eve. For the most part, it is a time of hope, and to strengthen the bonds and to enter into coexistence. It is a date that represents the union of love and the desire to be close to those we love. But in practice, it is not always the case. For many families, these are the stories of the people who, for whatever reason, they end up being left out. Maybe for a discussion of the former, for a difference of opinion, or often something more profound, invisible to the eyes of those who don't live in the situation. And the tricky thing is that this exclusion is not always explicitly with harsh words or gestures, are not so clear. It manifests itself in the absence thereof, in the absence of the call, for lack of space, lack of consideration. And at the bottom of this form of deletion is even more difficult to deal with, because there isn't an obvious explanation, but a sense that something has been taken away. That's a part of you as well. With this in mind, it is important to think about what it really means to be included in or deleted. What are the motivations behind these actions? And quiet. They are rooted in prejudice, in the beginning, or the differences that have not yet been able to get over it. And more than that, how do we handle these moments in our own lives and to take action to create the space more welcoming and true? Stay with me, because this conversation will open your eyes to the many wonders of a reality that is often hidden under the surface of the parties and other celebrations. And once you understand these signs, and if we can build a world that is more compassionate and aware of it, where no one else may have felt invisible at times, is so important. If this topic makes no sense to you, leave it here in the comments on what you played, or any experience that you have experienced is related to such signs of attention and empathy. Your story can inspire others who are going through similar experiences, and to share their experiences, it helps to strengthen the network of understanding and support. In addition to this, if you like the content on here, don't miss to enjoy this video. In this simple action will make a big difference, because it shows that this issue is important to you and encourages the continuation of the videos such as this, which seeks to promote reflection and connections that are genuine. Subscribe to the channel. It's a way to make sure you don't miss out, no matter what or who it might help you to see the world with the most empathy and strengthen our community of people who want to make a difference. It's an attitude every time. Your being here is what makes this channel grow, and to reach more people with this type of content and the spreading of that message of awareness and understanding. So please do not hesitate to leave a comment, like, and subscribe so we can move forward together on this journey of learning and transformation. And now, we will keep on exploring more of the stories and insights that empower us even in the connection with the other person. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because of what often appears to be simple on the surface, it reveals invisible layers which have a direct impact on our journey of growth and self-discovery. When we begin to look beyond first impressions, we realized that the choices we make are often the result of a complex web of influences, both internal and external, that have shaped our view of the world from the earliest years of his life. This article, which is often called Constraints, and form a sort of roadmap to recognize that guides our own choices, our own reactions, and, in particular, to our way of thinking. When you think about it, it is clear that the true transformation is more than just a change in behavior at the surface. It is necessary to dive deep, explore behind the scenes of your own mind. You understand all the roots that feed on our fears, limiting beliefs and patterns that keep us from moving forward. And that's where the truth is hidden, is revealed. Many of these limitations are evident in the daily routine, are hidden under a layer of social conventions and expectations, or even the appearance of emotional stability. The discovery of these ways, it is like turning on a light in a room in the dark, revealing details of it before seemed to be irrelevant, but but which in fact have a profound impact on our ability to continue to evolve. The impact of this discovery, and it is wonderful. When we begin to understand the roots of our own making, we have gained a new perspective on who we are and what we really want. Such an understanding opens up a space for true transformation, one that comes from the inside out, which challenge their beliefs more deeply rooted. And he invites us to rewrite the script of your own story. It is at this point that a journey of self-discovery, it becomes a silent revolution, a kind of resistance to conscious of everything that is in the limits. And at the same time, it's an opportunity to reschedule our way of thinking and align ourselves with what we truly want to achieve. On the other hand, this journey reveals a behind the scenes of the human behavior, often hidden behind the masks of society or of the building's safety and security. They are the revelations that challenge our comfort zones, forcing them to face up to the truths that you should avoid. But at the same time, it is in this conflict that we find the strength to evolve, to set us free from the shackles that never were true. Every time a new discovery, the more uncomfortable it may be, it works like a piece of a puzzle that fit together. It shows a clearer and clearer picture of the potential and the possibilities that are ahead of us. And then, in a movement of self-discovery, we find that the transformation is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey of conscious decisions. At each time step, a new layer of understanding to reveal, strengthen our minds, and broaden our view of the world. It's like unlocking a new world of possibilities, and where the truth is hidden, before invisible, now presents itself as an ally in the construction of a more authentic to ourselves. Such a deep connection with who you are, in fact, give us the courage we need to face up to the challenges easier and determination, knowing that the revelation this is an opportunity for growth. From this understanding, it becomes clear that the real change comes from within, out of a conscious decision to look past the appearances and to question our own beliefs and to explore the behind the scenes of our mind, curiosity, and courage. When you do this, you start to realize that life is not something that happens by chance, but it's a direct result of our choices inside. And then, when you realize that you have become the protagonists of our own history and are able to turn obstacles into stepping stones to develop even more meaningful. So every revelation, every insight, and takes us to a deeper understanding of the journey of transformation is, in essence, a journey of self-discovery. Where the truth is concealed, this is the key that opens the door to a new life. It is to reflect on the invisible layers, or to explore the behind the scenes of his mind. One thing is clear. It is a real change, requires the courage to face the unknown, and a willingness to learn from their own shadow, and an open-minded approach to reinvent yourself each and every day. And in the process, we found that the impact of our decision-making is not just a consequence of the moment, but it's the seed of a new chapter, for the authenticity and awareness go hand in hand. Each and every step of this journey, and reveals that the transformation of the most powerful is the one that comes from a genuine connection with the essence of one's own being. One day, even a challenging one, it is also full of possibilities, incredible for those who wish to venture down these pathways. And as we walk through these scenes, the internal, it is becoming increasingly clear that the biggest secret of change is in the mood to see beyond the obvious. However, to question the truths that we have been taught and accept that at times have the greatest impact comes from the way to find out what they try to hide it from us. With this revelation, though it is sometimes a daunting, is the key which will unlock a new phase of growth, where the freedom to be who you really are, the reward is more valuable to you. And so, with each new layer is presented, built on a history of more fully, more in tune with our inner selves, and we're ready to take the next steps on the road to a life more fully and consciously. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely in this journey of self-discovery that is often found in the major obstacles. The truth is hidden behind our decisions and our actions every day. A lot of times, it is related to deep-seated beliefs. The patterns are inherited, and a story that we learn from a very early age, often without realizing it. These act as filters to the unseen that shape our perception of the world, that have an influence on our behavior, and in a certain way to determine the extent of the impact that we have on our own lives and in those around us. It is as if we are stuck in a kind of a road map in an invisible that have been written by other people because of past experiences or by the different social conditions, and that they often prevent us from seeing beyond what we have been taught. Uncover the truth hidden hidden. The courage, yes, but also a deep commitment to change. Because when you open your eyes to these standards, we have begun to realize that many of our limitations are the stories that we tell ourselves to justify what you are comfortable with, but which, in essence, that you prevent us from reaching a growth that is not true. It is at this point that the mind begins to turn, as it gets to know you and the power of change, that is above all, in our decision-making. Making this, a lot of times, they are influenced by a combination of fear, self-doubt, or even with a false sense of security that keeps you in your comfort zone. The day-to-day becomes a sort of paradigm shift in which each congregation is a piece that will fit into a deeper understanding of who we are and the impact we can make to our daily lives. This is not just to change the behavior of surfaces, but a profound transformation from the inside to the outside of the reconstruction of our personal narrative. This process is more challenging as it may seem. It's also incredibly liberating because it gives us the autonomy to make up a story that truly reflects our deepest truths. At this point, we begin to understand that true transformation happens when you stop seeking external validation and we validate our own self-nature. When you have this new perspective on becoming established, we began to see the opportunities all around us with new eyes and with a mindset that is more open and receptive to the possibilities of that before seemed out of reach. It is as if a curtain was raised, revealing not only the impact of our decision-making, but also on our ability to influence the environment around us in a more conscious way. And at that time, the revelations grow. We begin to realize that the outside world is, in fact, it is a reflection of what we are on the inside. The more you align with the truth is, the more positive impact we were able to generate, whether it is in your personal life, career, and relationships with the people who are a part of the world. This is more in-depth understanding also leads us to reflect on the behind the scenes of the choices we make, about the real motives that are often hidden behind a facade of security or searching for acceptance. When you begin to unravel those behind the scenes, it's clear that a lot of our actions are driven by the need to fit in, to be approved, to avoid clashes with that challenge us to grow. And here comes a crucial point. The more we allow ourselves to see one of these aspects, the easier it is to turn the narrative, which in the limit of a story of power and growth. After all, the entire disclosure, for more and more uncomfortable as it is a chance to rewrite our history with authenticity and courage. On the basis of this new understanding, we can see that the journey has never been about reaching out to a full stop, but rather to understand what each layer is revealed. This is a work that takes us closer to our true nature. This is one of constant reinvention, in a dance of who we were, who we are, and who we can become. And in this movement, the perception of the impact, and if you zoom in, because we operate in a manner most closely aligned with our core values for the purpose of more times. Thus, the transformation is no longer something foreign, and goes on to be an in-house expertise, which is reflected in the way in which we relate to the world, to people, and to our own feelings and emotions. And while on this journey of self-discovery unfolds, it becomes clear that it's all in the guts to stand up for the truths that we would rather ignore. These are the moments of revelation really change anything, because it invites us to think deeply about who we are, in fact, and what is the impact we want to make it. And when you do that, you start to realize that all around you are also transformed because of our change in internal echoes in the universe that we see around us, creating a new reality that is more conscious, more truthful, and, above all, more in line with that we can be more authentic. It is at this point that you realize the impact of that journey is much more than ourselves, touching lives, inspiring change, and contribute to a collective transformation that is only possible when each and every one of us decides to take the first step on the way to your own truth. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the transformation that we live doesn't happen by accident. It is the result of conscious choices and of a mindset that opens them up to new possibilities and available to genuine, to deconstruct, to reconstruct. It is as if each and every decision that we make, it's a piece of the puzzle that fit together to reveal a larger image, clearer and more powerful than we thought at first. And this is the image that is in our own evolution, and one that reflects not only who we are, but who we can become when we allow ourselves to get out of your comfort zone and embrace the unknown. unknown. In the course of the journey, we have learned that it is the truth. The more it hides, many of the times, it is in us. The one to fear, the old, the question who dares to float, the feeling of insecurity, which looks like a giant two-faced. These are some of the invisible barriers that, in fact, it was created by a narrative that is imposed on us or we from time to time. And here comes one point that is often missed, is the importance of examining our own history. Because of the challenge we begin to normalize in the U.S. is limited, and the understanding that our greatest strength lies in the ability to rewrite this story. Each of the decision to change to a belief, to give up a habit, a toxic or looking for a new perspective, it is an act of courage, which has a direct impact on our journey of transformation. In addition, the impact of this change is not confined to the sphere of the individual. When one decides to transform his mindset, it becomes a catalyst for a chain of influence that will reverberate in the lives of others. It is like a seed that is to germinate, giving rise to a forest full of possibilities. And the amazing thing about it is that too often, this influence is a quiet, behind the scenes of a routine where the actions that are most simple to do and can generate amazing effects. As a knock-on effect, with each made a conscious decision that we make in order to evolve, it opens the space for others to reflect on their own careers, raising a wave of change that seems overwhelming. However, it is important to note that this process is non-linear. There are days in advance and rewind the moments when everything seems to be harder, heavier, or even that made no sense. It is in these moments that the true power of our mindset to the test. Because at the core, this is a journey of transformation. It requires resilience, courage, and daily to get up and keep going, even when the circumstances seem to be to the contrary. It is then that you realize the impact of what we create in the world starts within ourselves and in our ability to keep the faith in our own evolution and to believe that each and every step, however small they may seem to you, it is part of a larger movement. And when you think about all of this, it is clear that the search for the truth that is hidden, for the things that really matter, it's a journey of self-discovery, continuous. The journey where the revelations of the deepest of many times to come in the small actions of daily life and in those moments of silence and reflection. Because you are, in fact, that's where we find the answers we seek. The answers in the drive to keep going, to overcome the limitations, and to turn dreams into reality. And all of this is only possible when we are connected with our lives, when we choose to look at it, has the honesty and courage. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. Because of this connection with our inner selves often is, what is the difference between a transformation of the passenger is a change that goes on? It's not just about achieving a goal, but it's about evolving as a person. Learn about creating a new mindset, which will become a part of our DNA and mind. It is at this point that we realize that the true impact of our way that is not just in what we've achieved on the outside, but on the courage to be yourself, to embrace our imperfections, and to move forward with determination even in the face of adversity. This is the essence of true transformation, an internal motion which, in turn, end up reflecting on the world around us, creating a chain of impact that never fades away. And this is where we start to see that the secret of transformation is in the courage to break down and to question what we were taught as absolute truth and to be open to a new perspective, even if she has to challenge everything we thought up to now. Many times this trip requires an internal effort that goes beyond the simple desire for change, she asks, in a kind of self-giving. The act of courage that she insists on showing you that our limitations are, in fact, the barriers that can be overcome with the right mindset. And when you do that, you start to realize that true strength lies in vulnerability, the ability to opt in to our own imperfections. And more than that, you can use them as starting points to develop. When we allow ourselves to look to the sincerity, we have opened a space for revelations, as before they were hidden under a layer of self-deception or of a routine, etc. These findings act as a mirror, showing not only who we are, to be sure, but also what we can become. And in the process, we find that the change is not a straight line, but it's a journey of ups and downs, moments of doubt, and of course, the waterfalls and overruns. It is as if, for each experiment and every decision, it was a piece of what makes up a huge jigsaw puzzle, and every one of them, no matter how simple it may seem, it has the power to change the way we see the world. The beauty of this transformation is, in all its complexity, the richness of the details hidden behind the scenes of your own inside. It doesn't happen overnight, but not limited to the attitudes of the surface, which seem seem to change anything on the outside. On the contrary, it is built on the persistence of day to day to choose to have an open mind and embrace the changes that come naturally to us when we allow ourselves to be present in the moment. In this context, we start to understand that each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it has a profound effect and is invisible in our journey of evolution. It's like a chain that grows stronger with every step, a chain of actions, which once started, it can no longer be undone. And at the same time, the connection between the interior and the exterior reveals a truth that hides what many don't realize. The true transformation requires a shift in mindset. Don't you just want something a little different? You have to believe in your own ability to create the reality, to shape your own destiny with the choices and in line with what you really want. This is a change of mentality and acts as a catalyst, speeding up the process, which before would have seemed impossible, and open up to the possibilities that, until now, remained hidden behind a layer of fear or of this makes. That is why it is so important for us to understand that this is a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It is a solid construction. It requires us to be in a routine, to reflect, to question, and the courage to face our own limitations. With each step taken in this direction, it is a seed that is planted in the fertile soil of our soul, and with all the time, it germinates into a far-reaching change that goes far beyond what we could ever imagine. This change is evident in the way we see the world, in our relationships, our self-worth, and our ability to positively impact everything around you. In the end, the true transformation is not only a personal achievement, and she has the power to create a ripple effect, impacting all of our lives in a way that sometimes we can't even predict it. At the same time, it is this deep understanding that causes us to realize the truth which is hidden by the back of the growth in staff, that he is never alone. Every step we take, every choice we make, to the echo behind the scenes of our work, shaping a new version of ourselves that we are rather seem to be far away or out of reach. It's as if when we have a look inside you with honesty, and we are opening up a secret door to a world of endless possibilities, where our actions are conscious that they can create a reality that once seemed impossible. And then, in a movement of self-discovery, we begin to realize the impact we can make is not limited to our own growth, but that it extends to the people around us, to communities, and to the world. I now want to go more in depth on this subject by exploring how this shift in mindset is evidenced by the small actions of day-to-day life and how they can be transformed into a powerful force from the impact, revealing secrets that you may have been hiding in the shadows of our own history. It is at this point that we discovered that the real revolution starts within, and the courage to be who you really are with all our shortcomings, and move forward with confidence that each of you made a conscious decision that we make is a seed of transformation and is capable of producing fruit with incredible from time to time. And in doing so, we are building a new journey, which, in addition to strengthening the core, it also inspires you to those who cross our path to embark on their own quest for authenticity and growth. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for the transformation of true never happens by accident. It is the result of a conscious decision to look within, to raise the standards, and above all, to take responsibility for the choices that we make. And a lot of times, this responsibility is the one that scares you the most, because it requires the courage to leave what is comfortable, but it does not lead to growth. On this journey, we discover that the truth is hidden. Oftentimes it's there, hidden beneath layers of fear, the doubts, and the expectations of others. It is as if we were to open a door that had, until then, seemed to be locked in some kind of illusion, a collective, a trap that causes us to accept a version of ourselves that is not authentic. The impact of recognizing this truth is hidden deep. It leads to a kind of awakening, where we realize that many of our decisions are shaped by the external reviews for patterns, that is, in taxation, and a desire to please, which, in fact, it takes us away from who we really are. This awareness raising, though it is sometimes hard to digest, it is the first step in the liberation of mind, an actual reconstruction of our internal narrative. And when you start to look beyond the surface, we can begin to understand that change does not come from the one great gesture isolated, but rather a series of small daily decisions and of a mindset that values authenticity above all else. In the process, it is common that may arise concerns, the internal ones, that often we are reluctant to admit it. For that I am afraid afraid to be who I really am? I hold my standards. That's not me. They represent. These questions, although uncomfortable, are essential in order for us to proceed on our journey of self-discovery. It is as if each of the questions to reveal a layer of resistance that must be overcome, and an opportunity to reescribe mows in our history with more courage and truth. After all, that's the true transformation occurs only when we are able to break away from the shackles of what we have been taught to accept as normal, and then we create a new script which is aligned with our deepest values. The most fascinating part of this revelation is that it tends to generate a long-lasting impact that reverberates not only in our own lives, but also in the way that we touch those around us. When we begin to live with more authenticity, we are to be examples of what is possible to break out of the limitations imposed upon it by the fear and the expectations of external stakeholders. And, at this time, our day-to-day becomes a kind of bridge the gap between what we are, and who we can become. It is an endless cycle of change, where every decision is, life is like a seed, which strengthen our customer base and extend our view of the world. And it is at this point that we begin to understand that true transformation is not just about the external changes, but mostly on an internal change, a revolution in our way of thinking. When we are able to see beyond the lies we tell and the truths that we have been imposed upon them, we move on to act with more purpose, more in line with who you really are. And in doing so, stop being held hostage by our own doubts to become the protagonists of our story, shape a future in which the authenticity is our greatest strength. This is a journey of self-discovery, therefore is not a straight line, but it's a way of discovery, continuous, where each step reveals a new layer to the hidden potential of the inner strength that many times we don't even know I had. And in the process, we're going to understand that the larger the truth hidden inside of us, just waiting for the right moment to come into the light, so that we can finally set us free and to turn it all around us. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to understand that every decision we make, however small it may seem, it is a critical piece in the puzzle so-called self-awareness. It is as if we were navigating through a sea of options and possibilities. Often without realizing it, our everyday choices are, and the winds take us, or who we hang. And in this context, we discovered that the real freedom is not in control of it all around us, but to master our own minds, our emotions, our attitudes and actions. This is where comes the importance of recognizing how the protagonist of their own story, even when everything seems to be crumbling around us, because you are, in essence, every obstacle, every doubt, every fear that you face is an opportunity in disguise to grow. The big revelation is that too many people overlook is that real change comes not from the built-in formulas or recipes for success. She was born in the in-depth understanding of who we are, and our motivations are more internal, and the beliefs that we have, without realizing it. And more often than not, these limiting beliefs that are so ingrained in our daily lives that we are not aware of the impact that you have on the journey. It's such a filter is to recognize that distorts our perception of reality, and that is preventing us to see the potential that is out there, just waiting for a chance to express yourself. To break this cycle, you have to have the courage to challenge those thoughts, to question what's been taught, and especially to open up space for a new narrative, one that is more in tune with our true essence. This is a process of self-discovery, requires an amount of patience, because to change the habits, patterns of behavior, or even in the way we see the world, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a day of small victories, every day. The choices they are going to the construction of a new layer of self-esteem and confidence. And, at the same time, it's a dive behind the scenes of the mind, where many of the revelation is hidden behind layers of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. When we start to build on those behind the scenes, in the face of a powerful truth, the greater the resistance to change comes from within, a voice that urges us to keep you in your comfort zone. But at the same time, in the same voice, you can become our greatest ally. If we can learn to listen to it with attention and to make sense of what it really wants to say to us, it is at this point that we realize that the transformation is not a final destination, but rather a daily practice of autocompaction, courage, and self-discipline. Each and every step that we take in this direction to reveal a new layer of potential and is a part of us, which seemed to be hidden or ignored. And at the same time, the journey connects connects us with the essence of our humanity, which is what we are, beyond the mask, beyond the surface, beyond the expectations of others. And in so doing, we can begin to understand that our story is unique, and each and every one of us has a light of its own that deserves to be discovered and shared with the world. In this context, it is clear that the more profound changes that happen when we can align our actions with what we really think, what we want for the truth. And in this connection, it is only possible when we stop seeking external validation and start listening to our inner voice, the one that a lot of times it's hidden by the noise of everyday life. It's like awakening from a deep sleep, where you dream and the limitations that come together, and you open our eyes to the fact that He was always right there, waiting to be seen more clearly. It's a decision to look to the inside of the face of the mirror is the most difficult, and at the same time, and celebrate every small victory that brings us closer to who we truly are. And all of this leads us to a deeper understanding that our true freedom lies in our ability to decide who you want to be, regardless of what the world was waiting for, or that it is our own questions and insist on telling us. It is a journey of self-discovery that challenges our beliefs and calls us to an ever-changing, where each and every insight, every discovery, every decision becomes a key piece in the puzzle of one's life more fully and to be real. Well, when you dive deeper into this universe is built, we have discovered that the way to change it is not a straight line, but the spiral of evolution, where every turn brings a new perspective, a new chance to rewrite our story with authenticity, courage, and self-esteem. And, as long as this journey continues, it is a reflection of all of this transformation, begins with the simple act of courage, a look inside you with sincerity, and without fear of find out what needs to be healed or released. Because deep down, this is the most true hidden ours, that we are the most responsible for creating our own reality, and this is a responsibility when they have embraced it with love, makes the world a driving force for a life that is more aligned with our purpose. This is the essence of a real change that comes from within, and that affects everything around us, and to you that, in some way, it ends up inspiring others to also participate in this process of self-discovery. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is one of the biggest revelations you've discovered through this journey, was that a lot of times the things that prevent us from moving forward is not a matter of the external, but it is a barrier that we have created within ourselves. And it is this barrier that goes by the name of fear. The fear of making a mistake, fear of not being enough, fear of facing the truth that lies hidden beneath the layers of insecurity and doubt. And some of it is that, too often, these fears are fueled by a narrative of what we have learned in the course of a lifetime. A story that tells us that we are to be perfect, that we may not fail, and that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. But the substance of this narrative, it is a prison that keeps us from moving from the truth. When you understand this, you begin to realize that the real transformation happens when we choose to confront these fears, when we think about our own vulnerability as a strength, not a weakness. It is at that moment that our way of thinking began to change, because we see the difficulties as insurmountable barriers, but as a part of the process of growing up. And this is where it comes to the role of authenticity and the courage to be who you truly are, without masks or with false expectations. Courage is what it takes you on a journey of self-discovery, where every step you take, no matter how difficult it may be, takes us closer to our inner truth. In addition, such a deep connection with them, even though it is the decisions that we make, will be more in line with our core values and the needs of even the most sincere. When we can silence the noise of the external and listen to our inner voice, it all becomes clear. The choices are no longer being influenced by the opinions of others or a fear of not meeting expectations in the world, and start to reflect on what we truly want in our lives. And in it, we see that the transformation is not something that happens to us at one time or another, but it's an ongoing process of self-discovery, to the small daily actions that add up to create a step change in the way we view the world and interact with it. And it is at this stage that we start to see behind the scenes of the process of transformation and the details of the invisible, which is often overlooked, as to the small daily decisions and the thoughts of what we've cultivated and the emotions we feel and the choices we make in dealing with our own personal boundaries. These scenes are like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle that, when assembled with care and the intention to show the impact we can have on our own lives, lives and in those around us. After all, it is the real change is not only about us, but about the effect that this is a journey of self-discovery has on society, culture, and human relations. And on that walk, many of the revelations that have come to the fore. Some amazing, some even have the same feel uncomfortable, because they seem to defy all of the things that we believe to be the truth. And it is in this confrontation with the truth hidden, that is, we find a new freedom, a freedom that comes from the inside out. This is freedom. This is the one that allows us to act with authenticity, with a further purpose, and most of all, love yourself. When we learn to accept ourselves with all our imperfections, we make room for a change that is long-lasting impact on not only our career, but also to inspire others to reflect on their own choices. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic because this is a journey of self-discovery and reveals that behind all of the transform, there is a decision. It is often the most difficult one of all, the decision to take responsibility for their own lives. This is a step that takes courage because it implies that you recognize they are the main actors in our history. We have a choice to change the roadmap of where we want to. This realization is liberating and at the same time very challenging because it puts us in front of a mirror, forcing us to face our own limitations and at the same time to celebrate our intellectual potential. And this is where the true transformation is consolidated. When we realize that each and every decision, however small they may seem to you, it has the power to shape our own destiny. And so, over the course of the journey, we realize that everything is connected in our mind, our actions, our emotions, and our ability to see beyond the obvious. In this larger view allows us to see the connections and invisible that support our internal and external worlds, bringing to the fore the importance of cultivating an attitude of curiosity to constantly learn, to question all the things that we've been taught, and that too many times, and it limits our growth. The more you go deeper in the understanding of, the clearer it becomes that the true transformation requires a paradigm shift, a revolution in the home that reflect the impact that we have generated all around us. And in the process of discovery and the revelations that come up often challenge our comfort zones, but it also drives you to move forward with more determination. Because deep down, we know that with every step, no matter how difficult it may be, it brings us closer to a version that is closer to the truth and more aligned with our purpose. And it is this journey, full of ups and downs, it shows us the strength that we have inside of us to create a reality that is more authentic, more meaningful, and, above all, more conscious. And while we're walking down that road, it is the feeling that everything makes sense, and that every experience, every decision, every learning leads to a deeper level of connection with who we really are. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when you've decided to look beyond the surface, when we begin to question what you've been taught, and we seek to understand the roots are hidden in our actions. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes more and more intense, almost as if a revelation is silent, which is starting to emerge in our consciousness, that which is often hidden under layers of conditioning, fear, and limiting beliefs. And it is precisely that process of deconstruction which allows us to see the truth hidden behind the decisions that we make in the course of a lifetime, and many of them shaped by external influences, which may not always make sense when examined with an eye on our toes. When we begin to unravel the layers, we realize that our way of thinking, a lot of times, it was built on the basis of the patterns that seem to be an automatic, almost like a roadmap for pre-writing, which we follow it without question. But rather than accept that this is the script as it is immutable, we can pause and reflect. What has been the impact of these choices on our own reality? The way they have shaped our history, and especially, what are you today? This discussion leads us to a kind of liberation, a chance to rewrite our narrative, the establishment of the new connection with the one that's genuine and authentic. The most fascinating part of it is that it does not need a lot of changes from one time to another, but it is a change of perspective, a mindful movement to allow you to see beneath the surface. For this reason, it is important to understand that the journey of self-discovery is not a straight line, but a kind of mosaic of the discovery, the revelation that it will be putting to all but a few. In each experiment and every decision, no matter how simple it may seem, it carries a deeper meaning when looked at with caution. Many of the times, it's a choice, a seemingly trivial. It reveals a truth truth hidden about what we really value. What are some of your priorities should be unconscious. These findings help us understand the impact of our actions will be echoed in our lives, influencing them as long as my own interior up to the relationships that we cultivate with the people around you. To connect with this deeper understanding also leads to a kind of awakening, emotional growth, where we realize that we are the main actors in our story. We are not victims of our circumstances, but rather the individuals who, at any time, seize control of the script. And it is this awareness that our decisions have no weight, and the impact it is freeing as it puts us in front of the liability, which, when undertaken in a genuine way, it transforms our relationship to the world and to ourselves. It is as if each was a new opportunity to create a reality in alignment with our core values, have more or less than what it actually does make sense for those who are in addition to the masks and roles in society. When you immerse yourself in the universe of the findings, it is clear that this journey, this is a kind of inner transformation, a movement that goes beyond the surface and touches on the very essence of truth. And when you do that, you start to realize that everything is interconnected, and that our emotions, our actions, and even all the small decisions every day are all part of a large mosaic of possibilities. With each step taken in the direction, takes us closer to a life that is more conscious, more fulfilling, and where the authenticity is still a long way off, and it becomes a reality in every moment. And it is here that our story begins in a turn of an account of the impediments in the history of the discoveries and achievements of the real thing. And in that moment of reflection, it is clear that the impact of that journey is to go beyond ourselves. When you get to know each other better, to have an effect on the environment around you, creating a sort of domino effect that can inspire others to also seek their own truth. In this connection, authenticity, it's contagious, because when we are in our heart, we begin to radiate with a special power, a power that invites others to do the same, to look into the question of their own stories and wake up to a new reality. That's the beauty of this case. It's not just about our individual transformation, but rather a change in the collective, in a sort of awakening, which together can create a much more profound and long-lasting. And while this is a journey of self-discovery, continues in the face of a series of behind-the-scenes invisible, and it's those details that often go unnoticed, but they carry it with a quiet strength, capable of transforming our way of seeing the world. They are small revelations, moments of inner silence, a moment in which the truth emerges quietly, almost in a whisper that reminds us of what really matters to you. And when you pay attention to these details, we see that it is our ability to change is always within our reach, is a matter of opening up the space so that the authenticity can flourish. Because after all, change happens when you decide to get in touch with who we are, in fact. No masks, no apologies, only to have the courage to stand for the whole. Now, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that this is a journey of self-discovery, is a journey of courage, vulnerability, but also of hope. And that hope is born of the certainty that, if we look within, we are building a path that is more in line with what is most real to us. And then, in the motion of the discovery of the truth, the more powerful it is revealed that we are able to create a reality that actually makes sense, in a life that is an authentic expression of our deepest self. And as long as this understanding is strengthened, and the connection to the impact that we can make, and if it makes it more clear than ever before, waking up with a desire to move on, to explore new territory, breaking into the mysteries that are yet to come on this journey of transformation. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because I really felt at home in this journey and want to keep it up. I believe that it is the content that I have so much to offer to those who seek to understand, reflect on, and apply what makes sense to you." So, if you think that this is a conversation he had of value, how about leaving a like? Thus, we are able to create a connection to a stronger and to show that this is the kind of content that makes a difference in your daily routine. And of course, if you want to discuss ideas, ask questions, or simply to tell you that I'm with you till the end, leave a comment here below. Your participation is always welcome and helps to maintain the exchange of the experience of living. In addition to this, if you subscribe to the channel, this is a great way to stay up to date with the news and contents that can help you to move forward with more clarity and confidence. To continue on this journey, I am sure you will like the next movie. It has one side that complements what we talk about now, so click on there and it keeps me on the go. Thus, we can further explore these issues and to strengthen that connection that we're under construction. After all, this is just the beginning of a series of discoveries that can make a world of difference in your journey.